Questions?
Well, Coach, you get started with week 2. What are you looking for out of the team this week, as you get started here in the second week of camp?
Yeah, I think, we kind of look at our model as, each week is an exam. So on Saturday, we had our first exam, right? So we had a week of practice. We got a chance to do a little scrimmaging, not a full scrimmage, but a portion of it was live. So you kind of got an exam of what you learned the first week. Today, what we were trying to challenge the guys was to come back out and correct those things that we saw on film that needed correcting. And for the most part, I think we saw that. At least the guys were trying to do that. You start to see some of the things that you talk about in the meeting show up on the field, being corrected. You start to see a little more consistency. I think, again, with the group we have, the more we kind of rep the same plays, the more comfortable they get. Our defense does a really good job of mixing up looks. So a lot of we may run inside zone, but we may have to run it against 4 different fronts. Well, the more repetition we get against that, the more you start to see a little bit more success, a little bit more continuity. We saw a little bit of that today.
Coach, what did you see on film from Saturday? Since you had a chance to look at it, what did you see that you liked and conversely disliked?
Yeah, I thought the D-line is really disruptive. They're physical, they're strong, they're violent, they're knocking guys back. When they go forward, they got a chance to be really good. You also saw that there's some thinking going on with the younger guys at all positions, because you can call, they get 4 or 5 plays in a row, and if you call a play that they've repped multiple times, they play a lot faster than some things where they got to think a little bit. I think the quarterbacks took a step forward, not necessarily in execution, but understanding of we have to control and run and organize the unit when we're out there. As far as making sure guys are in the right alignment, making sure guys see the right signal, making sure we get checked into the right play. We made the quarterbacks live a little bit on Saturday, which is something that you normally don't do. But when you got young quarterbacks, I think sometimes they got to know that it's real football out here. And we saw some things, Cam was able to flash some things athletically, when we went live that you may not see when we're not live. Cade, stood in the pocket and made some big time throws, with guys beaming down on him. So those kind of things you don't necessarily get a chance to see. You also get a chance to see, especially some of these young guys. I think Jacoby Henderson is probably doing a really good job for us defensively. He's physical. He's not backing down. He steps up against, the Corey Gamages and the Taliks with the same confidence as he does, guys his age. So you saw a little bit of where we are from a physical growth maturity, if that makes sense. When you're going thud, it's easy to come in and say, "Ooh, I'd have tackled you," but when it's real life, it's different.
With some of the guys you just mentioned, who also would get Coach Huff's Player of the Week awards, if such a thing were.
Yeah, we're not really in the gimmicks in our program. We're kind of a get off the bus, punch you in the mouth, and go back home. But I thought, probably, if I would say the defense probably had a better day if you throw it into that. I think when you get into players of the week and players of the day, when you are strictly talking about the team portion of it, right? Because we do players of the day when we do fourth quarter conditioning. But that's an individual drill. Like, you are running around the cones, you are running the sprints. When we talk about a team portion, Stephen Gilmore is probably going to do his job 90% of the time, and the ball may never come to him. So if I give it to Jacoby, does that mean Gilmore didn't have a good? That kind of makes sense. So when we get into team stuff, we try and limit that. But I would say the defense probably had a really good day. They were violent. They were knocking guys back. It took us kind of manufacturing some plays to actually move the ball, which is good. Now, as the head coach, you're also responsible for the offense too. So it's not good, but defense had a good day. They did. And offense made some plays, but if you just look totality, I think defense really did a good job.
Coach LeBour.
I was Coach Kalon Laborn, guy that's new to the team this year, but he's been around other places, played at a high level, been through some things. What are you seeing out of him on the field, and also what's he bringing to that running back room as far as like a veteran presence, if he is doing something like that?
Yeah, I think he's taken the role of kind of just making sure that he's doing what he needs to do. I think the veteran presence is more visual, by example than necessarily by voice. He's a guy that also is learning the system, but when he gets the ball in his hands, you can see his experience. Does that make sense? Like we had a third and short period, at the very end of the scrimmage on Saturday, and he ran an inside zone and rolled it all the way back and went probably about 30 yards for a touchdown. But once he gets the ball in his hands, does that make sense? You can see the veteran vision, you can see the veteran feel. He's still learning the plays, and we're trying to find that balance between making sure we, throw everything on the wall and see what sticks, but also don't throw so much on the wall that it changes the color. So I think we did a really good job of we're doing a good job of kind of slowly giving them more and more, but also building confidence in what they know.
One of those position groups, there's a lot of youth on this team, but one of the more experienced groups coming back to the tight end room. What have you seen, out of guys that are coming back, and like guys like Devin Miller, Richardson?
Yeah, Devin is probably as steady as they come, man. I mean, if we had a team full of Devin Millers, we'd be the most consistent team in America. We may not win every game, but we would be pretty daggone consistent. He punches the clock. He comes in every day. He does the little things that, a 6-year guy, does. The top of the routes, he's able to kind of create a little space. He's able to make the tough catch across the middle. He's gritty enough to block in the box, some of those things. Velez has really done some things and really impressed us, as a new guy coming in. He's physical. He's got a great size. He's one of those guys where if he knows what to do, he's impressive. And he's a lot more athletic than you would think for his size. So he's been a guy that's done well. And Amir is continuing to work. He's a guy that's probably in that in between, tight end, kind of, not fullback, but, kind of sniffer position guy. That creates a little bit of flexibility for us in the pass game. So they've done a really good job. Really impressed with Devin and Velez as far as guys that kind of stand out so far.
Coach, last one for me, Trent Holler, another new guy. I know we talked about him a little bit last week, but he played a lot of center at ECU. Obviously, you guys are looking to get some new guys in there at center this year. Just how's he doing? How's he handling kind of getting acclimated to things here?
I had a conversation with him after the fourth quarter program, and I just said, "Hey, how's it going? And what do you think?" He said, "Man," I called back to my old school. I told him, "Man, you guys don't know anything about working hard." He said, "Our warm up is like our entire practice at the other place." But I think right now, at the beginning, he was swimming, but he was swimming as a tough kid. He is a tough kid. Like, he wouldn't allow the amount of work or the endurance to get him, and he grinded through. The one thing I can say about him is he's tough as nails. He's extremely strong and physical. Since we've gotten on the field, you're starting to see his experience show up. When he's able to communicate what to do, he has little nuances that veteran linemen have, if that makes sense. He's a little bit, I don't know the word to say on Zoom, but he's a dog. Up front, where you like your old lineman to have a little edge. There you go. That's the word. He's got a little edge, but he's also a veteran in his approach, right? We've moved him from center to guard. We've played both guards with him in center. And you can tell that he studies. You can tell that he asks questions in the meeting, because the things that he may, mess up on in one rep, one day, he gets corrected very quickly. So he's going to be a big piece to what we do. Exactly where he'll play, I don't know right now. He'll be a center or guard just based on his body and physicality. But he's going to play a lot of football for us somewhere in that mix, if that makes sense.
Coach, talking about a guy like Trent and maybe a few other offensive linemen, just how much help they have for the young quarterbacks. And I mean, in terms of bringing them along and helping, get in, right, like you said, get in the certain sets and things like that.
Yeah, I think, all of those guys up front, knowing that the quarterbacks are young, have done a really good job of treating them kind of like the big brother, where they'll turn around and say, hey, louder, or hey, we can't hear you, or hey, get it together, or hey, good play. And I think after a couple of days, the quarterbacks may have been a little scared when, Dalton turns around at 6'8" and says louder in a real loud voice, and he's breathing heavy and he's got his stomach out. But after you get going, they kind of know, hey, these guys are going to protect me and fight for me. I can trust these guys. And you're starting to see that a little bit, especially with Cam. You're starting to see, I can trust these guys. I can trust these guys are going to do what they're supposed to do. If I can get these guys right on the same page, they're going to do a good job for me. So it's been a little big brother, little brother, mentality, which is good. We all got to make sure we kind of, give our little brother a little noogie every now and then on the top of the head, and they've done that. But they've also gone behind him and slapped him on the tail and said, hey, good play. So I think it's helping with the maturity. It's helping with the communication, from O-line to quarterback. So it's going in the right direction.
Coach, you guys had the coaches clinic over the weekend. I know that's something that was important to you to get started here. Just how'd you think that went, and how important is an event like that as far as building culture and building programs?
Really good. I think we had 50 plus coaches here from all over this state and the tri-state area. It was really good. And, last year we didn't really get a chance to do it because of COVID. This year, we don't have the resources to bring in, Vince Lombardi and let him, speak to the group, and, everybody comes really to hear the speaker and not ball. I think this was really hands-on. I think the coaches that came to the clinic really got some, hands-on, information, not just clinic talk. They got really to get a behind the scenes look. We hung out Friday night. We had, a former player speak, which was phenomenal. Then they came right back Saturday morning and watched practice. So I think it's good. We want to continue to build on it, but you talk about the relationships here in the area, that's key, right? They may not have a player that comes to Marshall every year or a player that goes, Division I every year, but the relationships are something that should be there every day. Does that make sense, regardless of whether this guy's got a player or not? And that's one of the things myself and the staff want to do, especially with the coaches here in our area. There are a lot of good football coaches here. I was talking to some of the guys, getting some information. Hey, how do you run this? How do you block this? So we've got some good coaches in the area. We just got to continue to mine those relationships so that, it's not always about a player, and what can you do for me? It's about just genuine relationships.
Coach, some unfortunate news today. Coach Stan Parrish passing away. Obviously, I'm not sure if you ever got a chance to meet him or be around him at all or anything like that. But what does a guy like that, who I don't think was here a very long time, but obviously left a small footprint on the university. Talk about just the brotherhood of head coaching and just in general the Marshall family and what he meant to it possibly.
Way to go, Josh. You ruined my afternoon tweet that was going to come out after this press conference. But I had it all scripted and my wife proofread it. And it's really heartfelt. But so you ruined that. But yes, I think obviously very saddened, by the passing of Coach. I think when you look at the amount of people that one man touched, I think that says a lot for who he is as a person. Then when you look at what he did for Marshall, the first winning season, post plane crash and post Young Thundering Herd, I think he was a integral part of, us coming back and us, really stamping the world as, hey, we are back and we are Marshall. Obviously, he touched a lot of people's, hearts and emotions in this area. We have a lot of respect for him and his family. My condolences go out to his family, but whenever you have a man, a coach, a person who touches as many people as Coach did, when you lose them, it's a dark day. It's a day we all gotta just take a deep breath and be thankful for the days we did have with him. Be thankful for what he's done for Marshall and this entire community and the entire Parrish family. We send our best and prayers and condolences and thank you for allowing Coach to spend, the time he did with the Marshall family. Now I'll go send a text, Josh, the tweet. So at least you should be the first to like it because you ruined it, but thanks.
I'll make sure that happens.
All good?
Good. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate